G'day everyone, welcome to part 2 of the Xray T4 2014 build series. What we'll be starting off with today is we'll be starting the build with the front and rear differential assembly. Now before I carry on, the start of the book for the instruction manual, it recommended, it gave a recommendation for the chassis. Now this is something I do with all my kits that have carbon fibre in them, is to go around with all the carbon fibre parts and seal it with CA glue. Now what I use for the sealing is Zap Pink CA. Now pink, in other words, it's the viscosity of the glue. It's really runny. I use that to seal it, and basically to seal it, just go around the edges of the chassis and on the insides here, just to go around, just to seal it with CA glue. The whole idea of that, carbon fibre is porous, same as carbon graphite, but it's injection molded, but that's something completely different. Carbon graphite is porous, and it is also, if you look at it closely, you'll see that it is woven. So, and how it works is that it's woven together, then it's baked in an oven, and it's actually in layers. So the whole idea of the CA glue is to seal it, just to stop oil and other moisture from getting in, and it also prevents the carbon fibre from delaminating. And I have seen carbon fibre delaminate, and having just bought this kit, I'm not too sure what a new main chassis will be worth, but being Xray, it would be a small sum of money. I also, it says with the countersunk holes, just to go through that and just put a little CA glue in there, just to aid in strengthening it and sealing it. So yeah, so take your time. Also, another thing it doesn't tell you, if you're going to be using fiberglass tape to hold the battery down, you'll see you'll have a slot here and here. This is the bottom part, and this is the top part, so the battery will be there. Your tape will come through here, battery will be there obviously, and the fiberglass tape holds it on. Now when you get your chassis, what I'll do is I'll just get here a little bit closely. Just give me a second, folks. Whoop. Okay, here on the inner part, so that's your outer there, so where you got the little countersunk holes, that's your outer. On the inner part, you'll want to get a file like this. Sorry if it's a little bit blurry, folks. You get a file like that and scrape away the edge, and you want that to be rounded off. The reason being is graphite has a very straight edge, and it can cut the fiberglass tape. And with my old T3 chassis, I forgot to do that on its first run, and what happened was I had a large shunt, and it caused the glass tape to break, and I had to bail out of the first run. So just shave off the edge there, just to round it off, and that way that'll prevent the tape from from breaking. Okay, so on with the build. What we'll be doing, I'll be doing it in reverse order. What you'll need is obviously the parts necessary, and you will also need ball bearings, and also for the rear diff you will need the 1000 CST Diff oil. Okay, so first of all, what I will do is I will build the front solid axle, which is a spool. So pretty simple. Make sure you have the parts around the right way. Just clicks in. Of course, straight away it's going to have a fight. There we go. Like so. Now you will need a 2mm hex driver, and you'll hear me say this quite a lot during the build series, and if you've watched the other build series you'll know I'll sound like a parrot, and what I always say is do not over tighten the screws, because what can happen is, being in plastic, it can it will strip the thread. So what we'll also do, put bearings on while I'm thinking about it. Almost made a fool of myself on the internet. Okay, so that goes in like so. You can use a what do you call it? You can use a like electric screwdriver. I prefer to just use just ordinary Allen wrench. I mean, I've always used them. And also, when you buy Allen wrenches, make sure you buy good quality ones. Don't buy the cheap Chinese stuff, as they do tend to strip, and therefore you end up stripping your bolts and so forth. So that's the front spool. Whew, that was hard work, wasn't it? Okay, so now we go to the next part in building the actual rear diff. So we'll just take the parts out necessary for it. Now what I have done is I've gone ahead and, like with the bevel gears here, I've gone and cut them out of the parts tree that they're on, and I've also filed off the little burrs that are on the ends. I mean, I could do, it's quite simple. You don't want it to bind and that, and it's going to take too long to film me filing off all the burrs, and ain't nobody got time for that. So there are going to be things in this build series where I will go ahead and do it just to save a little bit of time. Plus, if there are two things of the same that I have to do, I'll just go ahead and build one and then go through building the second part. Alright, so anyway, back to what we were doing. What we'll need is the drive cups, and we'll need washers. Yes. Okay, now okay, so when we put the washer through, just be careful. You'll have to pay attention to what's being done, and also when you're building, sometimes it helps to, before you start building a kit, just to go have a quick flick through the instruction manual, just to familiarise yourself with it. Anyway, so yes, just take your time. Just get an O-ring over there. Now with a hex driver, just gently push it in. And we get a washer. Put that over the top. And we get a pin. You can see I'm going to have to get my pliers. Be very careful when you're doing this with pliers, as you don't want to scratch the pins, like so. Okay, now let me get one of the gears. These are plastic gears, by the way, people, so depending on what class you're going to run, I'm running like a spec 13.5 turn class, blinky mode. But if you're running mod like 5.5, 4 turns, just be careful. Plastic gears, you might want to carry a few spare sets of plastic gears, unless Xray have released like their spring steel gears. Just be wary of that. So pretty much the exact same thing again. Now this part is where the gears will sit and that you'll fill the oil with. You'll have to take note too that when you're putting it in, there's this little part here that helps, that's a little bit wide. It just helps for assembly for when you put the little pin in to hold the drive cup in. So it's pretty much the exact same build formula again. Drive cup in, O-ring, just be careful, and then just gently push it in to seal. And again, washer over the top, just shake it down like that. Now we get our pin. Now, be warned, this can be frustrating. And where's that little... Okay, now we've got to find the hole. You'll want to take your time with this, and trust me folks, it does get a little frustrating. And it's in. Okay, so that's that part done. Now the next part, we will be assembling the idler gears or sun gears, whatever you want to call them. So we just quite simply put them together. Now we have 4 little washers that go on each end. Okay, so it should look like that. Just pretty simple. And very carefully we put it inside the diff housing. And just wiggle it around just a little bit. And just turn it a little bit, just make sure it's all nice and smooth, which is good. Okay, now here comes the fun part. Now we have to fill the diff with oil. Now, if you pay attention to the instruction manual, it says to just have it so like the just above the crossbar, which the little idler gears sit on. You just fill it up to about there. Now it takes a little bit of time, but we'll just put it in. Now one of the tricks when you do it is you fill it and you let it sit for a few seconds and you just turn it like that, and it should just rest. It's a very thin oil, well, for a diff oil anyway, and it's actually at its optimum setting already, which is good. Now it says to put it on scales and weigh it and everything, but you know, ain't nobody got time for that. So now comes the good part. We get to, well, first of all, you have a gasket here which seals it. Just make sure that all the holes are poked out, and do it very gently as it is wafer thin. Okay, and then what you'd have to do is place it on the upper part Okay, now we have a silicone ring. You probably can't see it too well. There it is. You have to put that on. Now be very careful when you put this on, as you don't want it to break the seal. So because what can happen, I got it done this in reverse order. Okay, give me a sec, folks. So we put the little silicone ring in. One thing while I'm thinking about it, probably pays to put the diff housing with the oil in it on a flat surface, just so you don't knock it over. And we put the gasket in. Doesn't matter if the gasket's got a slight warp in it, it doesn't really matter because it's going to be pushed on flat. Now very carefully you put it, see that's what I was talking about, I have a case of butterfingers. So there's a little notch on here and a notch in there, they should meet up. Just turn it. That. I was very lucky not to spill that. Okay, so now we put the screws in. And this is a 1.5mm screw, so you'll need a 1.5mm hex wrench. When you put them in, don't do them up tightly completely. You want to do it in a crisscross pattern. The reason being is you want even distribution when you tighten it. That way it's not on wonky and you lose, because you'll end up losing the silicone oil out of the diff. Okay. The most important thing is, like I'll be always saying, that never over tighten it as well. So when you're tightening it, just tighten it till you feel it nip, and then you just turn it a little bit more and that should be fine. So let's nip there, nip there, nip there, a little bit more, and a nip there. Okay, so that's the diff built. Now what we do is you just test it. Feels nice and smooth. That's what you want. So now we put the bearings on, like so. And there it is, people. So there is, bearing came off. So there is the front and rear axles and diff. So stay tuned for part 3, where we will start on building the chassis.